Hello, hello. How is everyone doing? One second, I'm just tweaking my volume. How was the music for everyone compared to my voice? Do we need it turning up, turning down? How are we feeling on it? Pretty good? Sounding okay? Obviously, I'm trying to make the music audible. I've realised that's been my shortfall. So obviously I want you to enjoy the music and to enjoy, enjoy my voice. Able to hear it, shall we say. And how's everyone doing this fine day? It's a nice Saturday. Maybe slightly up? I can turn it up for you. How about that? This is where I turn it up too loud, just you wait. Well, if it isn't our good friend the short Anglo-Saxon. Yeah, that's fair. Sounds good, boss, says that Rob Human. Amazing, there we go. We found a nice little balance there. Brilliant. Let me have a read through. One person asks, before we start, got any tips on how to break down human anatomy? Oh, wow, questions already. I love it. So obviously, one sec, I'm just going to gently adjust the mic. I'm moving it somewhere. Oh, you're going for a little ride. There we go. Just getting my tablet where I want it and my mouse where I want it. I would say for me, I tend to break humans down into, well, there's two ways I do it. I either do what I call my loosey-goosey style, which is where I just kind of, you know, like there's a muscle, and I kind of go very circular with it. But even then, what I'm just doing with humans is, and by the way, I'm by no means an expert, there's probably much better people out there, is I'm just breaking them down into very basic geometric shapes. She says immediately drawing an arm wrong. But yeah, what I'm doing here is just breaking them down into geometric shapes. So I actually ended up doing this just for myself. I just drew this in my own time for the project, but just wanted to draw a little bit, just me. But for example, with his hands here, I've got this on a separate layer. They initially started off as this. And then I kind of just got a feel for the shape of the hands and blocked in the fingers afterwards. And then you can kind of work up from there. And I would also say use references to, sorry to continue belaboring this question I've been asked, but definitely use lots of references. So for this one, this is a magic form of soldering, so the grip is a little different, but I went onto a stock, I think Shutterstock or a stock photo website, and I was able to find an entire pack of this man using a soldering iron, which was just a fantastic reference for this, as you can imagine. And then obviously gave it its own magical twist, but hopefully still feels grounded in reality. So use references. I don't pull this stuff off the dome. I heavily use references. Luma says, love your stuff so much. This is my first time viewing your live. Well, welcome, Luma. Hopefully I won't let you down. Glad to have you. Rit, just found you and you've got me wanting to do some world building stuff, so we are enemies now. No, none of that here. There's room enough for everyone at the table, but yes. Actually, no, let's have a fun rivalry. I've always wanted to have an arch enemy. We can be arch enemies. By the way, I told everyone on Discord. Oh, that's very kind of you, Bionic Dodo. I appreciate that. I'm here to learn Runecraft for completely lawful reasons. Oh yeah, like I hate to lean into the British stereotype, but you got a license for that Runecraft. I'll just go into a little bit more about what I'm doing here in a sec, but I'm just catching up with the chat. Oh, lots of corpse digging up in the chat. For legal purposes, I do not condone that. Thank you. I asked Simon because I like his style, but you told me I shouldn't ask him. Oh no, I mean Simon's also very skilled. I wish there was one kind of panacea that just made you a good artist, but there's so many different styles out there, and for me, I'm in a phase of my art at the minute where I'm really experimenting with lots of different styles, which has been really fun to do video content with, but also means that I'm not super consistent. And I'd be the first to admit that, just because I'm just having so much fun right now trying loads of different things and trying different brushes and, you know, semi-realism and all of that jazz. So none of us are professionals in that regard. There's no academia that means that you can be an artist. You just do it. You do the thing. My brain is full of ideas, my notebook's full of blank pages. That is such a mood, for sure. I can definitely relate to that. Jessie says I spoke to you in Discord briefly. Yes, I did nip my head into the Monster Garden Discord earlier, so it was nice to chat with some of you guys. I had a teacher who was so good at anatomy drawings, he was nicknamed the surgeon, says Solo Solitaire. He was really good with muscles, and we had long discussions on the shape that they would take from the outside. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll have to find my old sketchbooks at some point. Sorry, I'm just popping my phone down. But I did, back when I was at university, which was longer ago now than I care to admit, I did a load of like skeleton studies where we would have to like study different, the ways, like for example, the collarbone interacts with the shoulder blade. Which is why doing that skeleton for the Golden Bone video was actually really nice, because I hadn't done any skeleton like anatomy breakdowns for a really long time, and it was really cool to do that again and work from some really cool anatomical references. And I'm so glad to hear in the comment section that so many people are working on their own creative stuff. I would say to everyone, and this is very much you do as I say, not as I do, because I'm guilty of this. Don't get overwhelmed by having so many ideas that you don't do anything. Just do something small. So it might not sound small, but to me the Golden Bone kind of intro video where I was just kind of talking about the setting was small, because I wasn't giving loads and loads of details or delving into any of the cultures. I was just letting people out there know here's roughly kind of the stuff that might happen and all of that jazz. Right, so a few things. This is just going to be me adding to a massive stockpile of images I have of alchemists. You can see I've got all my nice reference images here that I've been using. And we're just going to be doing some more alchemy bits and bobs. I'll see how I go. Probably do some warm-up sketches. I kind of want to draw some equipment. So maybe some bottles. I also liked the idea of them storing gold in like little containers. Something like this. And also maybe referencing scrolls, and that's how they're like getting the rune. Like, oh, we've planned what we're gonna inscribe, we write it all on like a scroll, and then they're like sitting at their desk as they're engraving, looking up at the scroll because there's just so many runes to fit on it. Something like that. So at the minute we've got these sketches, so in fact you can see here how I really reference this one. I love this medieval hood, and also the shape language of this. I'll put it red so we can see what I'm pointing at. This here, and I also really liked this, and you can see the influence of both of those. Let me just make a new layer to scribble on. Here, and then obviously here. This is based off an old diving helmet and all of that good stuff. So the alchemists in different cultures look completely different, which means that the world is very much our oyster in terms of what their protective gear looks like. There's actually different kinds of alchemists because there's lots of steps to the process. So these guys in protective gear would be the ones working with a lot more of like the dangerous chemicals. So maybe people either making alchemical mixtures or infusing things with alchemical mixtures. And then this guy here who's got less protective equipment, he would probably be just, you know, after a guy like this is done inlaying something with gold, this would probably be the guy who then engraves things. And I have here, just to catch you guys up, this stylus. So this is what this guy is using, or a make of this. So it heats up, but it heats up magically, meaning that it's got a very high concentration of heat at the tip, but it has a unnaturally like quick fall off radius, so that unlike a traditional, like, I mean, soldering irons aren't that hot anyway, but it's definitely not going to risk him burning his fingers up that close, is the idea. And if you used a soldering iron, you know what that's like. And then this here is it with the handle, you know, this bit and this bit kind of slipped off. This is what's going on underneath. And you can see it's also enchanted. I like to think in this setting that there's a saying that like an enchantment is always better than the tool that makes it. Like, you know, no matter if you could literally be using this tool to make a better tool, you know, like you could be using it to make like the 2.0 version of itself, and so you will always be making better things with your tools. That's the idea. Oh, sorry, we've got a guy in the chat being a prick. Let's ban you. Put user in timeout. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Let me... Oh, Jesus. I look away from the chat for like 5 minutes and this guy just being a prick. Sorry about that. Didn't see that. Oh, what a day. Right, let me have a little read of the chat. I want to learn to draw so I can do like you and visualize my own days, but ADHD does not consider. I've definitely seen, says Faye Rune. I've definitely got loads of friends who have ADHD who are very accomplished artists. It's just about finding coping mechanisms and strategies, either being sufficiently, you know, medicated or finding subject matter. And also there is, obviously I'm not an expert, but there are experts out there who do basically attention training where you can kind of, we're all a little bit terrible for paying attention these days, and obviously if you have ADHD that exacerbates it. So there is some really good stuff out there that I know a friend of mine uses that helps kind of retrain their brain a little bit. So best of luck to you, honestly. I'm sure you'll find something that works. Lampshade outfit, says someone. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a lampshade outfit. The lady in the bottom right is getting lost in her neckline. Can I eat the scroll to gain its power? Every good alchemist needs to go. Faerun says, do you know where you got that top left reference image? Do you mean... do you mean this one? Oh, top left, I'm an idiot. This one. Oh god, I think I looked up on Pinterest something like fantasy or like high fantasy coin pouches or purses, because I wanted to think of creative ways to store pieces of gold. But obviously they'd be using it for crafting purposes. I don't know off the cuff, I'm afraid. Someone says, I'm making a world where humanity has adapted to a waterlocked Earth and a new ocean biome has popped up. It's called the Desert Ocean. That's really cool. That's a really nice idea. I like that. Someone says, what if people use gold to tattoo people to give them abilities? Unfortunately, no, that doesn't work. If you've been in any of the kind of streams about the way this works, you can't just stick gold on someone. You have to have something solid enough that you can engrave it. And it has to be slowly engraved because you're actually introducing willpower. That's what the actual mechanism of that is. And the runes have to be incredibly specific. Like, it's tiny. There's a reason. If you've seen like watch engravings, it's that small. It's like all this tiny, you know, script. And it has to also outline things like the parameters of the object that it's being engraved on. So if you then took that and put it onto something else, it wouldn't work anymore, because it's like, well, I'm trying to work within the confines of this very specific jug, and you stuck me on a knife, so I'm not going to work anymore. So unfortunately that would not work in this setting, but would be very cool for your own setting. Volunteers to not abuse mod powers too much if you want a hand. I will keep that in mind, that Rob Human. That's actually very kind of you, thank you. You've mentioned engraving the gold inlaid. Do the specific markings matter intrinsically, or is it a matter of intent? It's both. So it's not just that you're engraving your intent, you are also telling it what you want, and the idea is that you kind of meditate over it. Some people just have more of a knack for it than others, but you're just... magic works off of kind of, not intent in that way, but also, yes, it kind of interacts with people's field of consciousness. It's why if you had a sword, for example, that was, I don't know, like let's say you had a lamp that was enchanted to glow without a flame, it would get your intent if you touched it. It would just get what you're going for. But yeah, each culture has its own rune language, and the idea is that it helps them shorthand things. So instead of saying standard issue table lamp or standard issue jug or something like that, they would maybe have a symbol like that, and so they're able to shorthand a lot of things. But yeah, the runes do mean something, they're not just nonsense. Someone says, do you have a conlang for your runes yet, or are you working on that, or is it a bit less important? Yeah, sorry, Abhorrent Arcana. Yes, as I said, no conlang at the minute, and each culture has its own set of runes, and even within one culture, if there's like two rival alchemist colleges, you might have like Professor Ulysses, who's like, oh, well, my runic language that I've developed is far superior for this, that, and the other. And then you've got someone else who's like, well, our runic language that we've spent generations developing is way better at, you know, short form, whatever it is. And different runic schools might have developed different shorthands. So if they specialize in weapons, they might have made a bunch of runic symbols that are in reference to weaponry things like trigger or you know, musket ball, or, you know, butt of the gun and stuff like that. And then another one that specializes in domestic stuff might have runes that mean stuff like light and table and stuff like that, or door. So there's so much variety. I would be here forever if I made a conlang. So it's like programming. Yeah, it's quite similar to programming. Yeah. Could someone get magic through gold prosthesis or engraving specific runes? Yeah, if you made a prosthetic leg, if you didn't have a leg and you had a prosthetic and you'd spent, you know, a good amount of money, or if you knew what you were doing, time, having all the engraving work done, you 100% could. You would have to be the richest man alive to afford it, but yeah, if you were a rich nobleman, you could probably afford a gold prosthetic. Yeah, fatal error HTTP status 418, I'm a teapot. Yeah, very much that, for sure. Did you get the second monitor? The Full On Night asks. That is next on my list. You'll be pleased to hear I just ordered a new microphone. So I'm just going to get that in and I'm going to get that set up. And then next thing is the monitor. And the only reason I put a pause on the monitor was because I had to move my desk around a bunch and kind of work out and make some more space for it and kind of tidy. And with full disclosure, I popped the money to one side and have not touched it, and then got distracted by tidying up a lot of stuff. And also because I was getting my stuff set up on YouTube, the donation I very kindly received took 2 months before Google would give it to me, which is a bit frustrating. But yes, that is next. Next is second monitor, but coming in the mail is new microphone, hopefully. Noble houses feuding over their runic systems. Yeah, it's more like, Alchemist Academia is really passive-aggressive, says Alex Simkin, and that brings in perfectly with Sergeant Bishop the Zeroth. What a cool name. Yeah, they are very funny about, like, their stuff. And some alchemists do the whole shebang, so they'll do, you know, the chemical bit, and then they'll, you know, making the potion, and then they'll do the other bits and pieces, and they'll do the gold inlay, and then they'll do the engraving afterwards. And other places will have different people do each of those steps. So you might have a one-man operation, or you might have like a factory line of people. I imagine this guy's maybe part of a bit of a factory line of people. Like, he just does inlaying of gold all day, every day. Oh man, I can't imagine you making... Yeah, so kind of like programming, UG's kind of on the money. If you mess things up a little bit, you could be, you know, really paying for it later. But your intent is as much part of it. The idea is you meditate over these words, you're thinking about them, and because you're thinking about them, it kind of helps imbue your will into them. Now, in theory, if someone was kind of powerful enough, they could imbue something with their will without doing anything to it, just by thinking at it, but they would basically have to be a god. And that's where the Ornata come in, because the Ornata do have gold on their bones, but they don't have, from what bones they have studied, they don't have any runes engraved anywhere, which means that it was probably, it's not just a weird mutation, they inherently have an enchantment in there somewhere that just needs a dose of magic juice to activate, which to them says, or to most people says, oh my god, the Ornata must be touched by a god. And then, as I've said in previous streams, everyone said, whose god did this? And everyone said, ours, at the same time, and then started pointing guns and swords at each other. And that's where there's a lot of conflict happening at the minute. What kingdom is this guy from, says Choco Banana. This guy is from, I'm just ironing out, it's not that I'm ironing out the name, it's just that it's, there's some weird naming conventions with this kingdom that I'm ironing out. So I won't tell you the name just yet. It's made of like lots of different principalities and kingdoms, which is a bit unusual, but it is basically what I'm jokingly calling my giant Europe Peninsula coded one. So it's basically if you took a vertical slice of England, so like Scotland down to Spain or like Portugal, and France included in there, and you kind of took like a vertical slice of that. That is kind of what the coding of that setting is, and it's where a lot of the people with the tricorn hats and muskets are hailing from in terms of aesthetics. And then more inland you get the more kind of medieval Europe coded, I suppose is the best way to describe the aesthetic. And then the further south you get, the more Mediterranean the clothing gets. And just through like years of intermarriage, this massive kingdom is now like huge. It's probably the biggest superpower. I'm just playing around with making his nose. Obviously I'm going to reduce the opacity on this in a sec, but trying to make him look a little sicker. He's not meant to be well, bless him. But I'm just kind of having fun trying to iron out the naming conventions for this kingdom, because I want them to all sound kind of like you have in Europe. I want them to sound all Latin based, but like their languages all went in a different direction before lots of interpolitics happened, basically. And the reason I'm also ironing that out is because I'm finishing up notes on their religion. And I think that, religion shapes culture a lot of the time, and so it would be cool to, once I've got the religion finished, have some locations maybe named after their religious figures, or it's the difference between like Mary and Maria and Yeshu and all of that sort of stuff. I think that'd be cool. Just kind of adding a little extra. I don't know if it's too much or too little, but I just want to emphasize some parts. That Rob Human says, you could call it the Holy Roman Empire and it would still be just as accurately named as the real one. Not holy, not Roman, not an empire. Yeah. It's very similar to that. I'm keeping it vaguely that coded. That's where I'm drawing the inspiration from, but then I'm hoping to kind of also put my own spin on it in terms of the fashion. I've been doing my fair share of like mood boards and stuff for it. And lots of haute couture inspiration. I want things to be a little, what's the point of doing a fantasy setting if you can't have a bit of fun with it and do some just cool aesthetic bits and pieces. And the reason this guy is sick, I imagine, is even though he's doing gold inlay at the minute, depending on where you work, they don't exactly have a lot of forethought for workplace safety. This is mostly like the highest level of tech is the age of exploration, and so even though he doesn't directly work with the chemicals, there's every chance that he is still getting exposed to them over time. It's kind of like how here in the UK, like during certain eras, they would be like, I don't know what happened, they were just exposed to massive quantities of lead every day. I couldn't possibly guess why they got sick. It's a mystery. So I'm just kind of having a little play around here and trying to make him look a little sicker, but keeping it subtle. Hola, hola, did I hear Portugal? You did, yes, that is one of the inspirations for the kind of, what I'm jokingly calling for now, until I reveal all big Latin inspired, or Latin country setting. Kind of going from Celtic all the way to Mediterranean, down its kind of north to south length. So yes, and I do love Portugal. I think it's a beautiful place with a beautiful culture. And I think too often people lump it with Spain. And while Spain and Portugal have a lot of similarities, they also have a lot of cool, unique features. So hopefully I can show my love for both cultures. Screams in OSHA, yeah, like the amount of OSHA violations that these guys probably break is numerous. They, like even these guys here, like, yeah, okay, technically speaking, these guys are wearing protection, but it's kind of like plague level protection, you know? Like, okay, cool, yeah, you've covered your face, but like, the horrible stuff can still get in through these eye holes, and you don't decontaminate your clothes when you take them off because you don't quite understand how cross-contamination as a culture, you don't quite understand how that works yet. So she's gonna do okay, but even like this lady over time is gonna be like a solid 7 out of 10 in terms of like protection. This guy here, same thing, has a tube coming out the back that I imagine leads off somewhere or can be plugged in and out, but he still like touches the helmet with his hands. These guys, good luck to them. Many OSHA violations. Rhoda, oh, did we talk in the a call a little bit ago? Hi. Daniel Bellido says, as a Spaniard myself, it's nice to see our Iberian brothers over in Portugal getting representation in media. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fair to acknowledge where there's overlap. For example, if I say something is UK and Ireland coded, obviously all the Celtic cultures are very different and they've got lots of distinctions, but we do share like a lot of common ancestry and common heritage. But it's just about being respectful and looking at what makes each culture unique, which I find really exciting. I think every culture has fun, like food and drink and clothing and music, and you just gotta like learn to love things. Great, you've washed your hands but keep inhaling asbestos. Good job. Yeah. It's very much the same boat. Yeah, they're like, okay guys, well done gang, we saved the city, and then they immediately just start inhaling all the dangerous chemicals. So I think what we're gonna do is start sketching some bottles, because I would just like to kind of, I think this will be a nice visual to have while I'm talking about how they mix the alchemical mixtures. Spoiler alert, it contains a lot of acid, and not the fun kind, the dangerous kind. I think what I'll do is I'll turn on vertical, I'll do like a base shape, and then I'll do like a nice 3D version of it. Do I want to do that? No, I'm just going to go straight into it. Maybe something like that. Sorry, I always work so slowly when I'm doing these streams because I'm just having such a nice time, you know, chatting with you guys. I don't want to be that guy, but I loved your last Golden Bone video, says Choco Banana. When do you think next one will be ready? Soon, hopefully. Soon. I'm sorry about the slow upload time. It's why I've been trying to do like other fun little videos in between and keep my motivation up. As I've said before, I do these out, you know, I still work a full-time job. But soon, hopefully. I mean, all of this content here that you're seeing is going to be in that video. And so the next video is going to be on alchemy, and we're going to have a little look at, you know, the ins and outs of it, kind of hopefully, I answered a few in that Q&A video I did, but hopefully answer some more of the questions that people have about how the setting works and why Ornata are so interesting as a breed, as it were. I'm just getting some shapes down and I'll probably go back over this, and I'm kind of going for this one here, if you couldn't tell, but not quite. This ain't your grandpa's acid. Yeah. Yep, sorry, I was just reading the chat. Yeah, I'm just getting some shapes down. I don't really draw a lot of asset stuff. I tend to 3D model stuff if I'm going for that. So this is kind of probably good practice for me. Just getting perspective. Oh, I don't know about you, but I still struggle with perspective. I'll either get it 100% right the first time, or I'll spend 17 minutes desperately trying to get a cube to look like a cube. So bear with me if this is the 17 minutes trying to get a cube to look like a cube one. Sergeant Bishop the Zero says, oh yeah, music is a fantastic way to draw comparisons in different cultures. The best example I can think of is Greek music having a lot of commonality with Northern... Yeah, exactly. I also find it really cool when two cultures that also potentially never met ended up getting very similar stuff. Like some of the traditional African ways of wearing braids and dreads are markedly similar to the way some Anglo and Scandinavian cultures would wear their braids and stuff like that, and obviously those developed completely independent of one another, and I think that's really neat. And yes, that Rob Human is correct. In response to the other person in chat, that is how you spell ornata. It's it literally just means decorated in Latin. Other cultures have other names for it, but that big, not Holy Roman Empire superpower I mentioned before is the kind of one of the dominant cultures, because they're the ones who have all the merchants, basically, so they almost export their culture as much as they export their goods. And ornata is the word they use to refer to golden people. It means like gilded or decorated is the literal translation. Maya stream when? Maybe a Maya stream. I've actually been getting back into ZBrush again recently, and that's been really good fun. It'd be cool to stream some Maya. I don't think you guys have seen my 3D stuff yet, even though that's my job. I think that's maybe why I've not done it, is because I do 3D all day at my job, and then it's really nice to work on non-3D stuff, just because I think I kind of associate it a lot with work now. And I've got a lot of different things in the works at the minute, which has been really fun to work on. So I've actually been doing a bit of writing. I want to, especially when I get this new mic, well, rather when this new mic arrives, because I've ordered it now, I want to do some like little story samples, like little radio play bits, like maybe little 2 to 4 minute bits from this world. So like maybe I do one on like the Bashats, or just little bits of different people just to give you a flavour of the setting. But I've also been doing writing of a story, more traditional kind of gothic horror fantasy. And I thought maybe it would be fun to release that in like an almost audiobook format, chapter by chapter. Because while I do enjoy art, it takes a whole other skill entirely to be a comic artist, especially a webcomic artist. But I could maybe release a drawing with each video, or, you know, just something a bit different. I don't know, I'm just spitballing ideas. But it'd be cool to share it with you guys and see what you think. Just getting some... This is nice. I've not drawn like just kind of a simple object in a while. And I think when you don't do it for a little bit, you forget that there's, you know, like this reference I've got here, there's 1,000,001 different ways that you can render something like this. And so it's really nice to just be able to, I don't know, do something that would usually be a throwaway object with intention. I think that's really nice. There we go. Let me just have a little sip of my tea while I check the chat. I've got I got a free sample from, I don't know if you guys have it in other countries, but here in the UK it's called Whitted and Chelsea, and it's a very nice shop that does like tea, coffee, hot chocolate, all that good stuff. It's a little more expensive, but it's like a little treat. I sometimes like to go and get something, and they also gave me some free samples, and so I'm just trying this lemon and ginger and seeing how it is compared to other lemon and gingers I've had. And with a bit of honey from a very nice person at work who's a beekeeper of all things, part-time, or as you know, as a hobby, and he gave me some honey. So thank you to Brian, who gave me some honey. We love Brian, we stan Brian in this chat. Jonska, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, "Ooh, do you work in the games industry?" I don't work in the games industry directly, but I do work at an arts university, and they have a game course there, and I'm a technician for what's called asset production, which basically just means I mostly just help. I occasionally will be asked by some of the games or animation or VFX, all the different course lecturers, to do a session on a piece of software, but I'm mostly there for if students' 3D stuff starts going wrong, I'm there to help them. And obviously you can imagine it's mostly, there's some animation and VFX, but the majority of the time I'm being asked by the games course for help, so that's what I do for my day job. Solo Solitaire says, clothing is really interesting too when comparing cultures. Cultures that never really met will both have many differences and lots of similarities. Mythologies too. Yeah, absolutely. I love that too. About the Ornata, do you think you'll define the possible enchantments, or will be more like whatever power is best for their characterization, says Anton van Oppen? I think the latter. I think, just having fun with it. The Ornata are the most rule-defying part of the alchemy system. What is so fascinating is that their existence just defies logic. The gold inside them doesn't behave the way normal gold does. It seems to act lighter and less soft, and then the second it's harvested from an Ornata skeleton, it just becomes regular gold. There's just something about them that is clearly mystical, and so it's nice to have fun with that, you know. And also, I think just the implication that even though no one can agree on what, there is probably some cosmic entity or consciousness causing them to come into being means that there can almost be from a meta perspective, maybe that thing is me, you know, like I'm just deciding what would be cool for them to have. I want to start designing specific Ornata from specific cultures, just so we have characters, like actual characters. I have a few in my head. In fact, here's a fun little preview for you guys. We have a few characters to look forward to. We have, I'm an idiot here. That is not my brush. So we have Edie Kemlo. Who is, she's going to be a really fun one. I'm quite excited about Edie. And she's from a very rural farm background, like 7 siblings, all of that jazz. We have Elian D, and then this is redacted for spoiler purposes, because he's from a noble family. And he's a posh boy, for want of a better term. And then we have, who's one more person I can drip feed you? Let me look at my notes. I'm opening up the hidden archives on my phone. The hidden tombs, the hidden archives. Sorry, my phone's being really slow. We have Anthony, but I have fully forgotten his surname because I think I was also working out a guardhouse. He's like the son of a guard captain, so I need to work out, because I just wanted to have a nice vertical slice of like lower, upper and middle class in one of the cultures, just to show you kind of how their lives are. And Edie's ability is that she can basically, she's an energy parasite, but she can basically like snuff out candles, make people feel tired, all of that jazz. She can drain enchantments if she's given long enough, and she can also temporarily stop an Ornata from using their abilities if she's focusing on them, but it's all suppressing the energy. So unlike a parasite that feeds on it, she doesn't get energy from it, she just kind of, it's less she's a parasite, it's more she suppresses. She can temporarily suppress things. Elian can just straight up see ghosts, which do exist in a weird capacity in this setting. They're more like echoes, they're not like conscious, they can't learn anymore, but he can kind of see the magical imprints that are left. And Anthony is a really fun one because he is an Ornata who has actively chosen not to get souped up with the magic juice yet. He has decided to abstain from doing that. Is this Photoshop? Asks Drennan Bauer. Yes, this is Photoshop. No, this is Rip Finch, says that Rob Human. I don't know if this question's already been asked, but does necromention or something... Do you mean like necromancy? I think theoretically there's more likely to be like weird Dr. Frankenstein-esque alchemists trying to do something like that. I could definitely see maybe some of them using remains to do bits and pieces. Someone says, that Rob Human, I think this must be in response to my job, that kind of haggard-looking professor storming in, quick, I need 300 widgets for tomorrow's lectureship job. Yeah, something similar. The Knight says, this is the first live stream I watched, pretty interesting, would watch again. Thank you so much, take care of yourself, my dear. Divine self-insert is a hilarious fourth wall break, says that Rob Human. Yeah, and not an intentional one either, I think it's just, I think that question will never be answered on which cosmic entity is causing this, because if you do that, then the world is solved. And just like our world, nothing is ever truly known. So in the meantime, I suppose I'll just say, they go, who caused this? And then my big dumb face just appears through the clouds, like that one scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I think that's how it would go. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this to play ball. Yes, legend says the god hails from a mystical land in another world called Britain. I know it's not your intended, but this is fantastic background noise, currently playing modded Skyrim. You know what? I'm absolutely happy for you to use this as background noise. No offense taken. Fuck your entropy as a power is awesome. Yes, yeah, for sure. Eve from the Bible is a Nata with a golden rib. What power does she have? Ooh, interesting question. Would Ornata like Anthony still get a slight boost to them, asks Ron Miller. No, they would not. Anthony is he's going to be a fun one, and I just wanted him as an excuse to explore certain ideologies in the setting. He is the son of a guard captain who's maybe got a little bit of the old toxic masculinity about him, but is also probably a bit jealous. And there's also this thing of like, you know, we work hard, I've trained my body for years, and I am a guard, you know, captain / commander. I need to work out the ranks a bit better, you know, through my hard work. And you've then got people who are just born with a silver spoon in their mouth, basically. And he doesn't hide that opinion from his son. And so I think Anthony has probably internalized that somewhat and has made an effort to kind of prove himself. I think there's probably a part of him who's like, when I'm good enough, I will then approach someone about, you know, doing this thing. But, you know, he's maybe a bit too harsh on himself. And I think that would be a really nice chance to explore that theme. But no, he has no added benefit if he's not enchanted. Sergeant Bishop the Zeroth says, yes, thank you. There should be always be a sense of mystery and confusion in a story. I don't like it when stories give answers to everything. Yeah, absolutely. I think the funnest stuff is where you can kind of... I'm just getting the basic shapes down so I can draw back over this. I just want to get a feel for the shape of this bottle. Yeah, absolutely. You think it'd be a golden spoon in these circumstances, says Ron. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that would be a fun thing to explore, is like the different attitudes. And so I've kind of started conceptualizing characters that I feel would help us explore those themes in interesting ways. I think what I actually might do for this is make that a layer underneath and then go in. We're going in. How thick was mine before? Was it a 10? I kind of want them to be vaguely consistent. Yeah, we'll go for a 10. Maybe even a 6 on the opacity. Oh, that's much sketchier. I like that more. I'm just trying to round out these corners. There we go. And for those of you who've not watched it yet, despite I feel being pretty self-explanatory and you know, just a bit of a laugh, some people took only a couple of people, and some of them aren't visible anymore, which makes me think they deleted their comments or they were removed. But I got some hilarious backlash on my latest video where I redesigned Angel from Lilo and Stitch. Some people were very upset that I made her less sexually attractive in their eyes. That was, yeah, what a ride. What a ride. I don't like this line. I feel like this line isn't... There we go. There we go. Sorry if I've gone a bit quiet. I always go quiet when I'm concentrating. I'll have a little peek at the chat in just a sec. I think I mentioned this in the last stream, but I'll mention it again. The kind of method, or one of the chemicals involved in making alchemical mixtures, so as I've been jokingly calling it the magic juice, I've tried to ground it roughly in reality. Not because it needs to be realistic, but because then I find it helps me with my design process if I follow certain strings of logic and kind of have some nice references. So it involves aqua regia, which involves hydrochloric acid, so and turning gold into like a weird gold liquid. So the alchemical mixtures also involve gold, but also synthesizing various acids, including hydrochloric acid, which is made of other acids, which is crazy, but also having to synthesize a bunch of more kind of pseudoscience chemical reagents that manage its reactivity, like keep it at just the right amount of reactivity. Because you slowly have to dissolve living things that are dormant into this stuff. And the reason they have to be dormant is because, as I said before, magic works off of will. So you kind of need to stop that from tampering with the process, otherwise you could get some horrific results. And so like, and the smaller, more dormant living things obviously don't have will or intent, you know, like plants, for example. So there's entire agricultural industries around getting people plants that grow fast and can be dissolved slowly so that the gold, which is now dissolved in the hydrochloric acid, you know, absorbs all of those magic particles, and that's how you kind of get alchemical mixtures. That's the kind of surface level of it. I've probably not explained that very well, but for anyone who is curious, that's the vague explanation of how this works. Good to have like a there we go. Got a couple of fun bootles. I'm enjoying this. It's been fun, like kind of getting some alchemical bottles going. If anyone's got a certain kind of thing they want to see, or maybe they saw a cool, like alcohol bottles tend to have some really cool designs, then let me know. I'm gonna have another sip of my drink and a read of the chat. Anton Van Oppen says, does anyone here know a good place to share fan art or fan stories? Oh, that's very kind. Yeah, if you don't currently have access to because the Discord's currently Patreon only, Twitter, yeah, is definitely the best place to find me. I'm at the Small Brit, because I'm a Small Brit, on all social media, I believe. So Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, or, Blue Sky, all of that. I'm the same everywhere. But I'm not on Tumblr, I believe, is the only one I'm not on. Choco Milk faded in while screaming. Wonderful. That's the kind of energy I want brought to my streams. Thank you so much. That could be used to sabotage dissolving a thing while it isn't dormant to give the magic juice some nasty side effects. Yes, it wouldn't be good sabotage for the alchemist, but it would be good sabotage for an alchemist's rival. It would also be difficult to do, but I suppose you could put a rat in there, or a whole sneaking a whole person into, even in an Age of Exploration era thing, like, it would be difficult, but I suppose you could stick a rat in a vat of it and hope it messes it up somewhat. But the reagents they use is to make the acid dissolve everything very slowly. So someone would hear an animal in pain, for example, and come in and probably investigate if they weren't watching the vat like a hawk from a distance anyway. But theoretically, yes, people could sabotage, which I think is really fun. I think that adds something. Blah, blah, blah. If you want a cool alcohol bottle, I'd look at the Saint German Elderflower Liquor. I'm gonna Google that right this second. Thank you, Ron. Let me have a little look. Saint Germain. Sorry, I am typing one-handed while I drink my tea. Ooh, that's a neat bottle. It's kind of got one of... Let me just... It's got kind of like a... that sort of shape to it. Obviously I'm over-exaggerating it a little, but it's got one of those going on. I like that. Thank you for that. Frankenstein's monster would be a really cool concept. Yeah, unfortunately it wouldn't work, just because, as we've established with the rules of it, the second you take the gold thing off the thing it was made for, because of the way enchantment works, it just doesn't work anymore. So if you had an Ornata whose thing was in their hand, oh, I forgot that was a... If they had like a... This is me showing that I can draw hands, but also I cannot draw hands. If they had it in a bone in their arm and then you cut the arm off, this isn't going to do anything anymore. You can harvest it or scrape it for gold, but that's as much as you're going to get out of that. But that's only because I'm trying to vaguely follow a set of rules. Even if the Ornata tend to break rules, they also, you know, some of the concepts stay the same. Heard they're reforming the door card Vampire Hunters or something. They sure are, Choco Milk, they sure are. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, are you alright there, Choco? Try not to spam the chat. Hands are hard in general to draw. I agree, Mr. Matt M over in the chat. Very much agreed. Like I said before, like when I was drawing, where is he? Where's our friend? Where's our friend, the gold layer? This guy. I had a lot of fun drawing him, but my word was some of these hands hard to do. I've never been great at hands. They've always been a bit of a bugbear for me. Which is why I practice them quite a bit, because that's the only way I'm going to get better. But I've learned ways to, you know, kind of help me on my way. Yeah, something like that. And then you can add all the fun bits after. Anyway. Right, let's draw another bottle. Let's try, I'm going to try and make it an amalgamation of that nice Saint Germain one, but also maybe give it a little je ne sais quoi. In fact, yeah, we'll do this one frontways on. We've done a few from angles. I'd like to do something a bit more ornate, so it'll be nice to kind of draw it frontways on. I also really want to, at some point, unironically draw, like, you know those, like, crazy mad scientist things where they have, like, or, like, distillery stuff where they have, like, tubes that do this and then it leads into, like, a beaker that drips stuff out, and because they don't just, obviously, dissolve things in vats, they have to make all the requisite chemicals, and I just like the idea of, like, some crazy distillery contraption going on. I think that would be really fun. Last used symmetry, there it is. So an ornata fence with gold in their right hand would want to be a lefty. Potentially, yeah. Like if the ornata with gold in their limbs are the most susceptible to potentially getting injured. I think if there's certain cultures do have, like, for example, the aforementioned Europe coded one, which I'm going to iron out more. No spoilers, all of that jazz. They have the reason they've been able to expand so well in recent years is because they offer this thing where, like, anyone of any background and not even of their country can travel there. And as long as they agree to 3 years of mandatory military service, they have to be at least 18, they will get enchanted for free, which is a very difficult thing to acquire. If in exchange, obviously, you give them 3 years of service, and so they have like a ornata group. And I think as part of their uniform, I'll have to iron it out, but I think loads of them will intentionally opt to cover their hands so that you can't tell which among them has gold in their hands, for example. You can't be like, oh, that's the one guy wearing gloves, he's probably trying to hide the fact that the gold is in his arm, let's chop his arm off. I don't know, that's just something I was thinking about. But yeah, they might be like, yeah, I've started using my other hand to fight because I don't want to risk losing my enchantment. Especially because there's such a high mortality rate, you're putting some very toxic stuff into your body. People offering me some Pinterest boards. I saw 2 people. I'm good for now because I do have my own Pinterest boards, and sometimes you can just get stuck making Pinterest boards. You know, you just end up spending so much time on that, you're not actually making the thing. So I'm going to stick with what I've got for now. But I will keep all of your very kind offers in mind for the future, for sure. So thank you. Let's turn my smoothing all the way up and see if I can get like a smooth curve. Ooh, something like that maybe. And now we will turn symmetry off. Just add a few, smoothing's still on, add a few little details. Just renaming these so I don't accidentally use the wrong layer. There we go. let's get rid of that. Can probably let colouring do the rest of the work for these. So I think, just because we've been drawing bottles for long enough, I can always draw some more in my own time. I'm gonna start colouring these. Let's go. Go for like a greenish hue. And then we will get some base colour in. The one problem with working with sketchy lineup is that it's a bit hard. Yeah, it's not going to fill in smoothly. That's all right. We'll do this the old-fashioned way. Alright, let's colorize that. Oh, this will have liquid in it though. Maybe I can so aqua regie is usually like an orangey colour. I'll add the liquid separately and then I'll do the bottle, and then it'll be kind of cool. We can have like a full bottle and an empty bottle, but I do want to just roughly kind of plan out how thick the glass is. Yeah, something like that. Okay, right. Now you get out the way. We're going to lock the alpha on that, which means it only draws inside. And let's get some gradients going, I think. In fact, I'll source a colour from here. Maybe a few more of these little bits here. Yeah, we'll just start getting some of these little highlights going. I'll probably paint over this in a sec so I can get like some more obvious edges, like catching the light. Why is that not going lighter? I want lighter. There we go. Something like that. then some darker shades, probably here. Yeah, there we go. Now we're cooking with gas. We can probably make sections of this a little brighter. So I'm just gonna... There we go, something like that. And then I will make this a little less scrungly up here. Let's go in, and what we're gonna do is do my favorite bit, which is painting on top of the line art. Oh, probably help if my opacity was a little higher. And wasn't fuzzy. Get it together, head. Come on, there we go. Gonna try this out. We can always delete it if we don't like it. Yeah, something like that. I'll do that on a separate layer because I can always merge down. Sorry, I've gotten very in the zone here. I'm aware I've not checked the chat in a little while. I'll check that in just a sec. Right, yeah. Oh, hit the wrong button. There we go. I am just going to check the chat real quick and sip my tea because it's getting cold. Oh, I've missed quite a bit. I'm so sorry. Time for Brit French Crab War. Minimized Crab War, but maybe we should have like a full Crab War interlude at some point. Will I ever do a stream that's not gold and bone focused? Yeah, I think I'd like to. It's just that I'm aware that's why most people originally found my channel. And obviously I've still made a point of doing work that is not related to that, but it's also an attempt to show good faith that I am attempting to get more of that content out. But I would like to do more stuff and share more stuff that's not that. So yes, hopefully. Coffee refill time. Is there a map of your world? Not yet, no. I'm kind of gonna work out, so like the Bishat, I know I want there to be this mountain range. I know how I want some of the countries to be shaped, and I thought what would be fun is, after I've got a few countries or regions under my belt, is kind of put them together like a puzzle. So that's a good question. Where do you keep track of your world building? I'll admit, mostly in my head and then in some frantic Word documents on Google Drive and on my phone, which is definitely not what we in the biz would call efficient or smart. But I am neither of those things, so it tracks, it checks out. Sec, just giving it a A little bit of that. Oh my gosh, UG. Oh my god. Wow, thank you so much. That's so helpful. Thank you so much. Not helpful. Gosh, I'm just a bit overwhelmed. Thank you so much. UG says, apparently a gram of gold is now 64 euros a gram. That's so kind, UG. I'm so grateful. Thank you, my love. A random question. Did you ever take inspiration from Sea of Thieves, as the game has golden curses that make people look like Renata? I didn't know. I've not actually played Sea of Thieves yet. It's been on my to-do list. I didn't realise that they had like an aesthetically similar thing going on. So apologies if anyone thought I was trying to rip off Sea of Thieves. And also now I have a very good reason to play Sea of Thieves, because it sounds like they've got a similar thing going on. Wow, Yuji, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to, just because it feels good to uplift creators anyway, is there anything you'd also like to plug while the eyes of the chat are on you? Do you have a channel or a project or something? I know why that's not looking right. Sorry, it was bugging me, and I've realised it's just because I want something a little darker along the slip section. You can see it was a little darker before, so what I might do is just sample that and pull one of these. Yeah, thank you again, Yuji. I never know how to respond when people donate. I'm just so endlessly flattered, so thank you. I'm endlessly flattered. I skipped straight to Yuji's for obvious and very kind reasons, but I will just skip back and see if I missed any things. Are these bottles period accurate in the sense that they're a bit lead lined? Ooh, that's a really good question, Matt M. I don't know. I think potentially yes for the alchemical mixture stuff, probably not for all things, but certainly for this, yeah, I think probably for the for this it would be. I've just realised that I've also drawn on top of the line art, which means that it's going to make the liquid look funky. So what I might do is, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to just give it its own group, and then I don't need to get confused anymore. There we go, something like that. We'll lock the alpha on that. Now aqua, I'm just gonna get up aqua regia because I think that is orange. And it is! Well, it turns orange when gold's dissolved in it, which is what this is. So yes, is the answer. Like a reddish gold. Actually quite saturated as well. Ooh, I missed some spots earlier. Let's cover up those sins. There we go. We did it. Yeah, it's more like this colour. It's actually quite intense. More intense than I anticipated. Probably more saturated. So maybe if I go for like a more reddish. Yeah, like that. There we go. And then a really nice bit here. And then this should almost be like a saturated yellow. Like it's all very saturated now that I'm looking at these reference images. Cool. All right. It's also full of bubbles, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. First, I just want it to... So we've got this version, and then we will have the filled version of it. You know what it's time to do? It's time to have a play around with some mixing settings. I already quite like the colour one, but let's have a look at some of the others. Shame we don't want to do blue, because that's neat. I think we will just go for colour. Just gonna go back to normal for this real quick and add another layer. Just because I want to have some like internal refraction going on, which I'm terrible at emulating, so we will see how that goes. But basically, like, you know, I want all of these bits to be deleting some of these exterior bits. Okay. Whoop. There you go. So we get this in. In fact, maybe we just... multiply... I'm just thinking vivid light and then stick a... no, that doesn't look good. The only reason I'm playing around with the mixing settings is because I don't want to lose these like nice bits down here, but then it's looking a little too light, and unfortunately multiply is looking a little too dark and brooding. Maybe linear light or vivid light. Linear light and then reduce the opacity could be good. What I might even then just do is do like a color layer. This is me showing my complete ineptitude. And then we could maybe have like this color. You know what? That'll do. I'm being too precious with this. Let's just have some fun with it. Oh, actually, why am I doing that when I could have caps lock on? That's better. There it is. I'm feeling it. Just trying to do a mixture so that it feels like there's some depth to it, if you get what I mean. Nice, okay, I like that. And then you've got it with and without the delicious, delicious filling. So what we'll do is, let's move all of these to one side. And I'm also not going to be too precious about the line art, so I think what I'm actually going to do is on both of these, I'm going to merge down, so if I want to edit these in the future, I have to paint on top of them like they're a regular painting. We're going to be bold, we're going to be brave, and I've done it. There we go. We've got bottle 01 and we've got bottle 01 full, and they are just one solid object now. Because I need to learn to be less precious with things. Great. I'm just going to have a little look through the chat. I'm a little bit behind. Love to hear people throughout history continue the trend of accidentally using dangerous elements in mundane ways, says Matt. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the things that I have really tried to do with this setting is emphasize the idea that these guys do still come from a period where they don't have, you know, perfect knowledge. One of my favorite things that I remember happening in Dragon Age is you meet this doctor who personally I feel is on the right track when they're like, hey, I think people are too reliant on magic. You know, like surgery could save a lot of lives, but at the same time they're at a stage of medicine where they think drilling a hole in someone's head can fix most issues. And I was like, that's really funny, because that is, I know it's not a real world, it's a fantasy setting, but that is how it would be in a similar tech real world setting, if you know what I mean. So it was really funny. And it's same with this setting. That I'm trying not to come at it with my perfect knowledge. I remember someone saying, oh, that would be really dangerous. And I'm like, yeah, they're stupid and they don't know what health and safety is. So yes, absolutely. Time to sue if these, says Alex. Yeah, maybe. Choco Milk, can we maybe ease off just a tiny bit? I love the enthusiasm, it's just drowning some people's questions. I'm struggling to see people. Nota asks how alchemy works in Calderboat. Oh gosh, I've explained it a couple of times in previous streams. I think the whole video is going to be explaining how alchemy works, but it does not behave in the same way that alchemy does in our world. It's a different kettle of fish. It's still the using of what they call alchemy is still vaguely similar to how we define alchemy. It's the usage of mixtures and means and various craft in order to turn something from one state of being into another. It's just that how they do it is different, and is more actual, like functional. Jesse Crawford says, I love how chill your streams are. I am very flattered. Sorry, Choco Milk is continuing to roleplay as a chocolate milk. This is very odd. Yes, I'm really glad that my streams are chill. Like, there's no point in me doing these or you watching them if we're not all having a good time, right? So I try and just make it as nice and chill as possible. Oh, I forgot to lock the alpha. There we go. Disaster averted. I'm just gonna sample all these colours because they're so nice. You've got this cool like undulation thing going on, and then the whole thing has got this really nice veneer to it. I really like this. This is a good reference. I'm a big fan. Just gonna wash this out a little bit. There we go. Oh. Kind of goes to more of a blue tint. Do you see that? It goes from, if you look on this bit here, just to kind of take you through my thought process, it's going from, which is often the way when stuff is lit, it tends to be from a yellow light, and then as it goes into shadow, it tends to get a bluer tone. Can see how we can just kind of get these nice tones in. I forgot to, however, absolutely terrible of me, colour the line out a little bit, and I think that'll add a lot. I'll do more of a blue tint. It's a bit too dark, like 2, maybe 3. It's a bit hard when it's a bit darker. I think that'll do. Yeah, there we go. And then we can always lock the thing on this, go to a 2, and then like... Ooh, in fact, yeah, there we go. Ooh, you can see it's a little messy down here. Let's tidy that up a bit. Nice. Am I still... Oh, I'm still using the fuzzy brush. What am I like? That's a little nicer. Just a little neat around the edges. While we're at it, let's see if we can't... maybe get some of these other highlights. Wondering if something like that even? I'm pondering. I'm pondering and pontificating. Maybe something like that. And then we will go into this and we'll add a new layer just to be on the safe side, as I always do. And then we can... There we go. And then if we go here, I'll go for like a nice 100% opacity. Ooh, a bit small. Let's go for something just a little brighter. And we're just going to get those nice highlights. Yeah, there we go. And then maybe for just a little bit more flavour, well, not literal flavour, I wouldn't recommend drinking these. I'll add like a, oh, do I want to be bold and add like a white veneer as if it's like reflecting something? Let's try it. Let's be bold and try it, because the worst case scenario is we just don't use it. Am I using the right brush? There's one that I have that's got just a slightly better pressure to it. Probably help if I had it on a decent opacity. That's not the one. Oh, that's better. Okay, now I'm happy. Something like this. It's just kind of implying it's coming from a different lighting source, but I'm not sure. I don't like this stuff. I'm a solid maybe on this. If we do a yellow tint, just to imply it's from a kind of like yellow light source. Maybe, this is me purely spitballing. Nah, I'm just gonna, oh, I'm so conflicted on if I want it or not. This is the thing when you're an artist, right, is that you just start worrying over like such stupid things that you never thought you'd worry about before, like whether or not a bottle overlay works or not. I'll leave it, there we go. I'm being decisive, look at me go. My mum would be so proud. I think as a little pièce de résistance we'll add some scratches. How do we want those scratches to go? I just want to imply that this bottle's been used a bunch. So maybe some like little scratches there. Maybe a little something here. And then what I will do is I'm gonna sample the lightest bit and then just up it a little bit more. And then these need to go on top is what these need to do, so they don't get interfered with by the thing, the line art. Right. Yeah, this is the thing that people forget, is scratches don't just always show up as dark, they can also show up as very light, depending on how the light's catching them. I probably don't want to reduce the opacity because then the line art starts showing through. Well, not too much anyway, so what I'll probably do is just lighten it up a little bit. For the light, I could probably get away with that. let's go in and tidy it up just a touch. People won't see this too much from a distance, but it's just, I'll know it's there, you know. And I think it adds something to it, so that's how I'm justifying it to myself. I just find it very relaxing doing these sorts of things. Yeah, you know what? I think it actually does add a little something. Yeah, there you go. Some little screeches. I feel like this one's a bit bright though. I might just get my eraser and ease this one out a little. There we go. Done, and I'm going to merge them all down. I'm going to be brave again. Bottle O2. There we go. Let's read a little bit of the comment section. As a fellow tea lover, I would like to ask if there are other things besides honey that you like to drink with your tea. Yes, yeah, loads. So it's just that I very specifically like the combo of lemon, ginger, and honey. I have a full tea caddy downstairs. I like coffee, hot chocolate, and tea, so I'm never short of a hot drink. I tend to use sweetener rather than sugar these days, or natural sweeteners, just because I'm trying to cut back on processed sugar, and that's just the amount of hot drinks I have, not just tea. That's just been a really easy way to cut some of that out of my diet. Oh, a belated goodbye to you, Choco, if you rewatch the stream later. Oh, sorry, I just saw your comment there, Rob Hubin. Yeah, absolutely decision paralysis. I think one of the important things about... So many people are reluctant to stream because they're afraid they'll mess up, but nothing encouraged me more when I was improving as an artist than seeing people fail. And so I think it's really important that people see me fail as much as anything else. Oh my gosh, hi Fantasy Forge! I'm so honoured that you're here with us. It's so good to see you. Yeah, we're not working on anything crazy, just some like alchemy storage bottles. If you guys aren't subscribed to the Fantasy Forge, then what are you doing? You need to be subscribed to the Fantasy Forge. Do it. I don't know why I went really like Boston there. It just felt like the thing to do. I'm gonna try and do like some, I don't know how to describe it, like raised text that you get sometimes on the side of bottles. I think what I might do is put it in a text thing, skew it, and then trace over it. So it's Aqua Regia, so I'll just put like Regia on the side and it'll be like all old-fashioned-y and old-timey. Okay. No, we're good, we're good. Let's rasterize that layer. Edit, transform, skew. You can tell I was doing something fancy earlier because I've still got this very fancy font. Right, okay, so what I'm doing here is just giving myself a little reference, and then I'm going to hand letter it because I feel like hand lettering it will give it a little bit more of a rustic vibe. I'll do it in black for now just so I can see what I'm doing, and then I can always change it later. Let's go down to like 6. Do a little bit of... Oh, I just realised that my brush settings weren't right. There we go. I was like, why isn't this working? And it was my fault. It was a problem I caused for myself. That's always the way though. I actually had like a where's my glasses moment the other day and they were on like on my face. I swear. Right, so my plan here is we're going to get rid of the one I didn't hand letter. I know it doesn't feel like a big thing, I just feel like you can tell when it's just text placed on it, and then when you hand letter it, it just gives it a little something, you know? So I'm gonna move it up a little. Lock the alpha, you'll have to bear with me here, you'll go to trust the process. I'm then gonna blend these in, just kind of eyeballing it. Trust the process, trust the process. And then I'm gonna increase the saturation and up. I only meant to do it by a little bit, like 2. Like that. I'm gonna duplicate it and do like one that's a little darker. Maybe a little bit more blue. And then I'm gonna just try, well I say trust the process, I don't know if I fully trust the process. The idea is I'm gonna try and imply that it's raised and then I'll draw over it a little bit and see how that goes. You see what I mean? Kind of like that. I think what I'll add to it is when I paint over it, so I'm just going to do that now before I lose my nerve. Yellow Hub says, thanks for sharing your wildness creation process with us. Oh, thank you. Matt M says, some of the most humanizing artwork I've ever seen was rough sketches Michelangelo did at the Met. Oh, I'm so jealous. That sounds amazing. I wish I could have seen those. I'll have to Google them. It's not quite the same as seeing them in person, though. Right, the plan here is to add some little highlight bits, and then also maybe some like, not shadow, but like weird reflective saturated bits. That is way too light. Now when the light hits it at its most vibrant, it will all be the same colour, but for the internal refractive bits it won't be, is the best way I can describe it. So I'm going for the one more or less like next to the letter above it. Because when the light's at its brightest, that will fully override any colour underneath it, whereas the... should maybe gone for something a little darker. There you go. Whereas when, you know, it's refracting, it's going to be just a little, you know, still darkened by the shadows. Okay, getting there. There's that. And then next phase is... this is just also a great chance for me to get better at lighting, because glass and stuff like that is so tricky. So this is really fun for me. something just a little lighter up here. And then just to kind of bring it home a little, I'm also just going to do some extra shadows. And now I'm just sourcing the colour from like one level below. And then maybe I'll just turn on the 2, even the 1, and just do some feathering. That kind of reads. I'm not 100% on it. I think what I maybe need to do is ever so slightly erase it on this side. Let's see if that helps a little. Yeah, okay. No, I can live with that. And living with it and very little else is the name of the game today. Perfect. I'm happy with that. Screen mode. It's funny how the stream doesn't capture any of the pop-ups. Yeah, it's true. It doesn't capture any of the pop-ups. That is correct. If I hit, for example, I've got control, you know, the hue and saturation mode on, and it just does not show that I'm using it. And yet, obviously, you can see that I'm playing around with the, or maybe you can't see the light flashing, the little rave that I'm doing. Thinking of, maybe I'll up the saturation just a little bit now that I'm here. Not tons, but maybe just a little scooch. There we go. Boople says, I love how wholesome and down to earth this stream is. Thank you, Boople. I appreciate you. And all of you guys, you know, frankly, coming on. I am just going to take a quick break though, just so I can put my pen down, just because my hand's hurting a little bit at the minute. I don't know if you heard that click, but that was my wrist. I feel like I've got like the bones of an 80-year-old. Oh, Fancy Forge and UG kissed. Wonderful. That's what we want to see. Curious what your brush settings are, says Fancy Forge. Do you stabilize it somehow, or are your lines just that clean? So my lines aren't that clean at all if you look at them up close. They're dirty, dirty, dirty. I just lie and make them look clean. So I don't tend to use... oh, probably help if I wasn't on my eraser settings. Honestly. Right, bear with me. Okay. New layer. Let's go. Let's go. So, I could in theory have my eraser on. Where's my tablet being funky all of a sudden? Might be glitching out a little bit. Oh, for God's sake, has my tablet gone funky? It has. Bear with me. After all of that smart talk, it's being annoying. Let me unplug it. But yes, to answer your question, my brush settings aren't especially good. They are, my brush work isn't very clean at all because I find that adds a lot of texture to it. So in fact in my latest video where I redesigned Angel from Lilo and Stitch, that was really interesting for me because it involved doing really clean line art with like an inking brush, which isn't my normal style, but up close these are very messy. I tend to just take a sketch and then eat into it, as it were, with a eraser. Oh boy, I think Photoshop might be bugging out. It's not registering. I'm just opening up this random thing to see if it'll work. No. Bear with me. I'm actually going to have to do a technical difficulties and restart Photoshop, so I'm just going to put you guys very briefly on a be right back screen. Oh no, no, you didn't break it, Fantasy Forge, you're fine, it's all back now. So yeah, I've just got smoothing turned on here. So I have done some like harsher line art recently where it was like on 100%, I had my smoothing turned on, and I was able to get these really nice, and you can see that's with the smoothing on. But most of the time I have my smoothing on 0, I put my opacity to about 70, and my flow to about 70. Now I can actually demonstrate it, and then 6. And when I'm sketching, I actually don't, I like to sometimes have the tapering on, but for this, I don't. I tend to turn it off, and then I just sketch like this, which is a horrible, horrible way of doing it, and I'm sure loads of people would tell me off for it, but like when I was doing the bottles earlier, it means I can do stuff like this, and then, ooh, turn the smoothing off that, and then kind of eat into it using my eraser, and that's how I clean up those lines, which is a bad way of doing it, but I enjoy doing it that way. Another thing is sometimes I'll colour that way. So let's say I wanted to add some, I don't know, like some beads on top of this, I don't know. I would take a, not 100% dark, but like a slightly chromatic colour. It's the difference between black and like a slightly off black one. Probably help if my settings were on 100% opacity. Little darker. So let's say, I don't know, there was like, pretend there's a string here and there's like some bead covering, like a net covering the neck for decorative reasons. Sorry, someone's dragging their bins out to the curb directly outside my window. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is quite loud. And then I would lock the alpha/opacity, depending on who you ask, and I would then just go back in. And it's kind of like built-in line art. So sometimes I'll sketch the base of something, and then when I hit the colouring phase, I will just go in and paint on top. Because then I can, because I've got the opacity locked, I could go here, take a 2, and just shade that. Oh, actually the light's coming from the other way. Whoops. This way. There we go. Then you just take your little, actually I kind of like this now. Take like a 6. Once again, I've not used the tapering at all. And we'll go, oh, the opacity's on like, I was wondering why it was so low, the opacity's on 20. That explains it. There you go. And then maybe we use this colour for these ones. You can get some really fast results that way. I hope that offered some insight, but the long and short is it's a free-for-all. May the odds be ever in our favour. Jules says, I would love to I would love to hear you nerd out about the world building process. Ugh, I can't even speak today, honestly. So why do you love the art form, storytelling form of world building so much? I would say the reason... Oh, that's a good question. I want to give it an appropriate response. I think the reason I love world building so much is because it represents the culmination of so many different art forms, imagination, all of that good stuff. I've known world builders who have no artistic skill, like visual drawing artistic skill, but have loads of like written artistic skill, or people who just want to make music, like make a fantasy world where there's like a musical element to it. I've seen people do all sorts, and it's also a great way to just share ideas and tell stories. The world today is overrun by people. In an ideal world, AI should be stopping us from doing menial jobs so we can all focus on like artistic pursuits, but that's not what's happening, Instead, people are really struggling to make ends meet a lot without wanting to get too deep, It's so important to see people being creative and expressing themselves, especially in the face of a lot of conglomerates that are kind of taking over the art we consume and boiling it down into the same... Even before AI, they were just regurgitating the same ideas, And I think it's so important to get your ideas out there and be creative. Which is a note for anyone in the comments section who's been saying, I want to get started. Just start, You've literally nothing to lose and everything to gain. Thinking everything to lose and everything to gain, nothing to lose and everything to gain. I was just playing around with some patterns here, but I don't know if I like them. So I'm going to delete them. There we go. They never existed. Have to go to bed, says someone. Bye-bye, sleep tight. Yes, it was, someone says the kiss you shared with Yuji was too much Photoshop to handle. It's true. Fancy Fortress, thank you. I'm a novice compared to you, but I always love to learn new techniques. Good, yeah. I'm always constantly being like, ooh, what brush did you use for that? Or, all of that jazz. So I'm right there with you, man. And Solo Solitaire says, may I ask how you get your ideas for the details of your lore world building? It's real life. It's always real life. Anyone who says, I got this idea completely free of anything, it's unique, is a liar and a scoundrel. Everything comes from the content we consume, going out into the real world. I know the real world's a scary place sometimes, but and just observing. And I know that's such a cliched, pretentious thing to say, but it really is true, in my experience anyway. For example, here we go, a little bit of a sneak preview for some of you guys. I was just playing around with some ideas here. Actually, I kind of like it. Maybe. I'll delete it for now and come back to it. I was looking for some ideas for a small kind of cultural group from one of the, not the big kind of major superpower, but one of the other kind of major groups. And I wanted to indicate that they can basically... Oh, I'm set to blacks, to green still. I wanted to somehow convey that the members of this group called the Somnambulists, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, it means someone who sleepwalks, or it means sleepwalking, or sleepwalker. They have a group called the Somnambulists, and I wanted to imply that basically they're like dreaming oracles, and I wanted to imply somehow that they see the world differently. And I didn't just want to do, not because there's anything inherently wrong with it, but I wanted to move away from the cliche of their eyes being a different colour. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll colour their sclera something, so maybe the sclera is black and then their pupil is like white or something. And once again, it felt very anime-ish, and I don't mind that kind of rule of cool stuff, but I wanted to just do something a bit weirder. And so I literally just started doing research on real world eye conditions, and I discovered something, well, I didn't discover it, but for me, something called polychoria. And it's where someone is, warning to those who are squeamish, born with at least 2 pupils, so born with multiple, usually deformed pupils. So their pupils would maybe look something like this. And I thought that could be a really cool thing, that these guys, if they dream enough, start to develop eyes that maybe indicate that they're seeing more, that they have the capacity to see more. Obviously, as it is in real life, it does also mean your vision's not great, but your brain is pretty good at compensating. Be warned, if you Google polychoria, there's loads of fake ones, so be judicious if you're looking for references. Yeah, something like that. Solar Solitaire says, yeah, our world is a huge source of inspiration, subconsciously or not. Yeah, absolutely. That Rob Human's such a good word. I'm assuming that's in reference to somnambulist. Yeah, so somnambulist is a word I made up, but it's from somnambulate, which I was about to write it out, and then everything froze up. I think it's spelled... I can't remember. Somnambulist, which is from somnambulate, which means to sleepwalk. So I figured list would kind of imply that it is sleepwalkers, but I don't know if that's an actual word. I'm actually flagging quite a bit, so I hope you guys don't mind, but I might actually call it there for tonight. Just because we've had a lot of fun, we've had lots of chats, all of that wonderful stuff, but I am, my wrist is hurting a little bit. And I think I'm gonna go have a hot chocolate or something. Oh, and for anyone curious, if they do want to check out that thing, I believe this is how polychoria is spelt, but that's off the dome. It might have an H. I'm not sure. That's a maybe. Zyra says, okay, my old post won't say I'm UG from now on. Oh, cool. Yeah, nice new username. I like it. Thanks for sharing, says Yellowhead. Thanks for being here. I'm always really appreciative when, you know, people just want to have a bit of fun, share some stuff, all of that good, yeah, all of those wonderful things. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. It's always a delight having you guys. I'll stick it down there. There we go. For later. Next time you Jim Forge, you're getting married. I love it. Yes, please. That's what we want to see. Legalize world builder marriage. In French, we also use that word, somnambulist, to talk about those acrobats who walk on a threadway. Oh, like a tightrope walker. That's really cool. In fact, that kind of works visually, so that's really cool. I'll have to keep that in mind. Thank you. That's a great little tidbit to end on. Right, I'm just gonna close up the stream, but you've been absolutely delightful as always, and I'll see you soon. Bye.